Hi everyone, this is Crew 54 and we will present a CPA of implementing a 4-day work week in Brisbane. I will first introduce the policy and discuss the main benefits from an economic perspective. First, I will briefly introduce the policy and the economic framework. Then, I will discuss the key benefits of the 4-day work week, including productivity gains and employee well-being. After that, my teammates will discuss the limitations and final conclusion. Today, we're arguing that the 4-day work week should be implemented. Based on evidence from the UK pilot involving over 60 companies, productivity was maintained while employee well-being improved. From an economic perspective, this policy increasing willingness to pay and reduces opportunity costs, suggests that the net social benefit is positive. The first key benefit is productivity. Evidence shows that companies' revenue remains stable, increasing by 1.4% and even grew by up to 35% compared to the previous period. This suggests that productivity was maintained despite fewer working hours. In economic terms, higher or maintained output, increasing willingness to pay, which contributes to higher social benefits. The second major benefit is improved well-being. The study found that 39% of employees experienced less stress and 71% reported lower burnout. These are non-market benefits, so we use shallow pricing to estimate their value in terms of willingness to pay. In addition, employee turnover decreased by 57%, reducing hiring and training costs. This represents a reduction in opportunity cost. Interestingly, 50% of employees state that no amount of money would make them return to a 5-day work week, indicating extremely high willingness to pay. However, despite these benefits, there are still some important limitations and equity concerns that need to be considered. I will now pass to Denver to discuss these in more detail.
Thank you, Mingyang. The benefit sounds great, but for a real cost-benefit analysis, we must look at the risk first. First is industrial heterogeneity, which simply means industries are different. In Australia, we have 2.4 million casual workers. That's about 20% of workforce. In hospitality, it's 58%. These frontline workers cannot easily do a 4-day week like office worker can. If we force this policy, it creates a huge distributional inequity. For essential service like hospital in Brisbane, cutting hours means we have to hire more staff. If we can't find them, it leads to a dead weight lost and lower the overall net social benefit. This is why our support must be conditional. Next, let's talk about transition costs for business to keep 100% of the output with only 80% of the hours. Many companies have to hire more people. This causes a big jump in marginal labor cost. In Australia, hiring just one new employee costs between 20,000 to 26,000 Australian dollar. For small business in Brisbane, this is a massive opportunity cost. Money that should be used for innovation is instead spent just to keep the business running. We have real example of the failing. Big companies like Unilever and Bupa stopped their trials because it was too hard to manage. The Gothenburg Hospital trial in Sweden also stopped because wage costs too high. These are real economy barriers. Finally, we must look at transaction cost. Trying to squeeze 5 days of week into 4 days violate the law of diminishing marginal return. When people work too intensely, that they don't do better, they just get exhausted. One trial manager reported that staff experienced 9 extreme work days, adding sick leave and finding someone to cover a shift become impossible. Also, Brisbane companies still need to work with global clients who work 5 days a week. The communication delay creates negative externality and hurts service quality. If the net social benefit is destroyed by fatigue and bad coordination, the policy fails. This is why we need a flexible approach. I will now pass it to Yixin to explain our solution. Thank you.
My name is Yixin Lu. After discussing the cost and limitations, our solution is a fast and flexible implementation approach. Brisbane should not apply one fixed model to every workplace. You should first start with a pilot program in suitable sectors such as office-based work and professional services. For industries like healthcare, education, retail, and emergency services, a normal 4-day week may affect service delivery, so these sectors should use staggered rosters or flexible schedules instead. Based on our cost-benefit analysis, our recommendation is conditional support. We support the 4-day work week, but not as an immediate city-wide requirement. The benefits are promising, productivity may be maintained, well-being may improve, and turnover may decrease. These benefits increase social welfare through higher willingness to pay and lower opportunity cost. However, the risk must be controlled, including transition costs, service delivery pressure, and unequal access across industries. Therefore, the net social benefit is likely to be positive only if the policy is implemented gradually and flexibly. In conclusion, our group supports implementing a 4-day work week in Brisbane through a staged pilot program. The policy can improve productivity, well-being, and workforce retention, but it should not be treated as a one-size-fits-all solution. Different industries need different models. Our final recommendation is to start with a Brisbane-based pilot, evaluate the result using CBA indicators, and expand the policy only if the evidence shows that the net social benefit remains positive. Overall, a 4-day work week is economically promising, but it must be flexible, evidence-based, and fair. Alright, thank you.